The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to this morning's helpline session with your host, James McDonald.
Well, thank you very much, Andrea. And I'd like to start by welcoming our participants to our helpline session here this morning, and we can obviously take all of your questions regarding anything you like. This is our free-for-all. It is Christmas week, so we're all pretty pumped here. And yeah, make sure you either type your question in the chat, or if you have a live working mic, we can chat with you. I'm expecting Craig to join us shortly, so we'll let you know as soon as he does. But as you know, we reserve these Monday morning sessions to discuss whatever you want. So if you have any lead generation related questions or lead conversion, anything to do with the USPs or setting up the systems, anything at all, we can discuss it, but you've got to kind of bring up the topic. So I will rely on you to do that. We had a really good ad clinic on Friday. We went really long. It was probably a better part of an hour and a half. And we looked at a lot of different ads, a lot of online stuff, and a lot of really effective editorial style ads, by the way, which, you know, I'm really hoping that some of you who aren't running any editorial ads in print take a look at some of the local newspapers in your local market area and maybe give them a call and see if you can run an ad, maybe first week of January. Run an ad that says, you know, avoid these costly inspection pitfalls when selling your home in the new year. That's a really good headline to run first week of January, last week of December kind of thing. Because what you're doing is you're calling out to anybody that's considering a move in 2016. Which should give you a really good head start and a jump on the competition with any of those sellers. It's probably an ad that you'll keep running throughout the entire month of January without changing the headline at all. And we've seen massive success with that for many, many years. So that's something that you might want to put on your to-do list. And, you know, if the price is right with the local newspaper and they cooperate in running the editorial ad in the news section, making it really look like an article, it'll work well. It's not even a guess. It's not a maybe. It will work very, very effectively. It always does. So that's something that I wanted to share with all of you before we got started here this morning. Okay, now, having said that, Andrea, we can take chat questions, we can take any live questions, any topics of discussion, role-playing, anything at all that you'd like to talk about or discuss. Sky's the limit, but that's what we're here for, so why don't we get started?
Okay, and if you haven't done so already, go ahead and click the hand icon if you have an audio question, or type your question in the chat box. So hold on one second, I apologize, my chat box just moved, so I have to realign it. Okay, from Nick and Joe, are the home inspection pitfall editorial ads just as effective on Facebook pay-per-click?
No. No, they're not. What you're going to find is this. When you're running an article, an editorial style ad, it is the best place to offer a free special report. Okay, so when you're running an ad, you can offer a number of different things, obviously. You could offer a list of properties. You could offer an over-the-net home evaluation. You could offer a list of homes that have sold in the neighborhood. You could offer a USP, information on a guarantee or some sort of a USP that you have available, a service. You could offer a free special report. Here's what you will find. When you offer the free special reports in an editorial style ad, the free special reports will work the best in that sort of forum. All right, so if you were to run an editorial style ad that offered a list of properties, that wouldn't work nearly as well as a free special report. But if you were to run a classified ad that offered a free special report, it wouldn't work nearly as well as a list of properties. Same is true on Facebook or anywhere else. Reserve the free special reports for the editorial style ads. They work really effectively. Now for Facebook and what you're referring to, was it something else as well as Facebook, Andrea? Facebook and something else? Pay-per-click?
Facebook pay-per-click.
Facebook pay-per-click, okay. On Facebook, here's what you're going to find. Offering an online home evaluation is number one. Find out what your home is worth online is number one. And number two are a list of properties. Distress sales, upscale homes, waterfront properties, whatever it is, offering a list of properties to the targeted audience, Those are the two most effective offers that you're going to make on Facebook. Offering a free special report, I'm not saying it's not going to work. I'm saying that there are degrees of works. And if something works better, I would want you to start with what will likely generate the best response for you. And then you can test. So I'm certainly not discouraging you from testing. What I am encouraging you to do is let's start with what has proven to work the best first. And that is online home evaluation, free list of properties of various kinds, great deals, etc., and then offering free special reports. Do it in that order. And in editorial style ads, when you run an editorial style ad, offering a free special report, the inspection pitfalls being one of the very best of them all, and offering it using only a hotline is the best approach to start with, because it likely will be what generates you the best response right off the bat. So I hope that answers your question and gives you some ideas.
Okay, Mark has a question. About 80% of the time, my leads give me a false phone number. What do you recommend I do in that case? I tried sending them an email saying they made a typo mistake, but so far nobody gets back to me.
Okay, well, first of all, if you have an address, then you can look up the address to determine the home phone number. Number two, you have gotten wrong phone numbers before, but don't confuse I have gotten wrong phone numbers with everybody gives a wrong phone number. It's not true. They don't all give a wrong phone number. Now, if you said, well, they do, but I've only had 3 leads, well, your problem isn't that the leads don't give a phone number. Your problem is that you've only generated 3 leads. So this is why it's so very important that we be able to pinpoint exactly what we need to fix. Right? In other words, if you generated 3 leads and of those 3 leads you couldn't get a phone number for 2 of them, we wouldn't say, well, the problem is we can't get a phone number. No, the problem is we only generated 3 leads. We've got to generate a lot more leads. That's what needs to be addressed. If we generate a substantial number of leads and we're not getting phone numbers, well, we can do things, all right? We can make the phone number a mandatory field. We can make the phone number a voluntary field. We can look up the address or the name of the prospect, all information that they've given to request the information in the first place, and we can get a phone number by looking up the name and the address. So we can reach the prospect that way. There are things that we can do to get a phone number from a prospect that's requested information from us. We can send an email that essentially links the prospect directly back to the landing page where they're prompted to only include or only give accurate contact information in order for their request to be fulfilled. Right? So we have things that we can do, but the first thing that you need to do is you need to pinpoint what is it that we need to fix? What is really happening here? Lack of leads, or is it the information that the prospects are giving, so that if we're going to spend our energy fixing something, that we make sure that what we're fixing is the part that's going to make the difference. Great question to start with.
Okay. Mark had a follow-up question, was asking if any of our editorial ads are in French. And I know they are not in our ad generator, they are not in French, but I do know that Coach Mackay has all of our editorials translated.
Yeah, so how would our member go about getting some of those ads from Francois?
Well, emailing him, I know I've seen you, Mark, on several of our French helpline clinics. We're not having one today, but we will at the new year. You can either ask then or emailing.
Yeah, it's probably a bad time of year to do that.
Yeah, I was thinking it'd probably be the best just to wait until January 4th when you can talk to him.
All right, so January 4th we're doing our French helpline session with Francois, so I would recommend you come on that. And if you don't have the details, email Andrea and she'll get you all the details and get you on that webinar. And if you don't speak French, you don't want to come on that webinar because you won't understand a damn thing. Am I right?
Okay, our next question from Christy. I have an appointment with a buy first seller at her home. Which presentation do I do? Both the VIP buyer presentation and the listing presentation, or how do I handle it?
Not at all. You do the buyer presentation. Okay, that's it. That's all you're doing is you're going to do the buyer presentation. The purpose of the buyer presentation is to compel the prospect to hire you, thus becoming your client. which is a great idea. Now, at the same time, while you're there, you don't want to give the listing presentation if they're not ready to list their home. Remember, the conclusion of the listing presentation is for the seller to sign the listing contract. But if you know with certainty that they're going to buy first, they're a look first prospect, and they're absolutely not going to list their home, then giving them the listing presentation now would fall on deaf ears. And the conclusion of the presentation would fail because they're not ready to list their home. So that doesn't preclude you from offering them suggestions about what they could do to further increase the value of their property, little tips, things they might want to consider doing or not doing, you know, giving them a range or looking at some comps without giving them a price. You do not want to give them a price for their property, but you can certainly look at some properties that are selling and that are on the market without giving them a price. But do not give them a listing presentation unless it's clear they're going to list their home, because the conclusion of the listing presentation is to get a listing signed. And if you know they're not going to list, if you establish them as your client because they've hired you as their buyer representative, it becomes a highly likely given that you're going to get their listing because they've hired you. They are your client. And the fact that they've hired you by signing a buyer contract isn't much different than they've hired you by signing a listing contract. Okay, so that's your strategy going into this appointment. Great question.
Okay, Paula types in, we have 2 free newspapers. Both have home pull-out sections. Both are very heavy with advertising. Do you suggest we run the editorial in the home section or the regular newspaper section?
I would try it first in the regular news section, all right, because that's where the most number of eyeballs read. Now, remember this, okay? The home section is really good for those that are further along in the process, all right? And so I'm not discouraging you from testing that, but remember the purpose of the editorial ad, okay? Let's say that I'm somebody who I'm considering moving sometime next year. This is not something I'm doing right now, but maybe by September of 2016, I'll be more serious about making a move. So it's something that we're considering doing, but it's certainly not imminent right now. So here's the deal. When I get the local newspaper, I probably won't read the home section. You know, I'm not there yet. I'm not going to read the home section. But what I'm very likely to read, if I'm going to read the paper at all, is I'm going to read the front, the local news. So here's the bottom line. When you run the article in the local news section, you get the most number of eyeballs reading your article. Even if they're not right now planning on selling their home, if it's something they're even remotely considering doing, it isn't unlikely that they read the information and they request the report. Now, you've got somebody who's very early in the process, but understand, you never would have gotten that person had you run it in the home section, because they're not reading the home section necessarily because they're just not there yet. All right, so that's the strategy. They were designed to look and read as local news, right? If you read the articles, they're written like as local news. So because they're written as local news, you want to run them surrounded by local news, and that usually works the best in the news section at the front of the newspaper. Once you've done that, though, testing it in other sections of the paper is a fine idea, because you can always go back to what works the best.
Okay, our next question from John. I am working on my business plan. What is the best way to determine your competitors for the 1-hour business plan? How do I determine my market size?
Well, what you want to do is obviously you want to refer to the MLS. Okay, so the MLS keeps all of these kinds of statistics, and I know that the program that's offered by Leon Dancona, Andrea, from Info Marketing, IMS, Info Marketing Solutions, allows you to track every individual sales agent, and Andrea's showing you that right here. So explain how our coaching members can get access to this. It's like $29 a month or $20 a month or something ridiculous. But I mean, this is really good for a number of reasons, not just your competition, but for statistical data, for your listing presentation and everything else. But this is, it's realestatestatistics.com, okay? And as a Craig Proctor coaching member, you have access to this for, you know, $1 a day. Sorry, Andrea, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I will go ahead and paste this link in the chat box so everyone can have access to it.
Good stuff. Thank you, Andrea. All right, so anyway, this will give you everything you need, and it'll show you, you know, where you stand. It'll show you who your competition really is, and it'll show you where. You know, I mean, there might be a realtor in your marketplace that seems dominant, but you know, maybe they're dominant in particular areas of the market, and in other areas they have very little, if any, market share at all. That's very, very common. And that gives you an idea that there are high demand, high turnover areas where there is no one single dominant agent in that particular area at all. And that would be really helpful for you in understanding that that might be a target, geographical target area for you. Okay, so let's keep going here, Andrea.
Okay, we have a question.
Thank you for this, by the way.
You're welcome. We have a question, an audio question from Adele Langdon. Your line is now open.
Oh, hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Adele, how are you?
I'm good,
You know,
how are you?
I should answer this like this. Hello? No?
Okay, so my question is, I have opportunity. It's just a supplemental thing. I think I emailed you about, but I wanted to explain that. I have a opportunity to put a some type of an ad or something in a newsletter. It's for animals, but it's the largest spay and neuter free in the country, so it's got a huge following. But I'm on the board of that group, so they said, you know, put in a newsletter, and put in, you know, your name, or, you know, it's free.
Yeah, it would definitely be branded. Okay, two things. Two things I would do.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, you should finish.
So I just wanted. I had heard you say something to a lady once. I forgot her name. That was going to put something in a church newsletter, and she was going to say, you know, use me and I'll do this. And you said, no, that's not good enough. You have to say, and additionally, I'll give $500 or something. So I wanted to do something that was going to be good. So
right,
and I
okay,
did.
So here's what I was going to suggest. Number one, what you are talking about right now is going to be a supplement to your lead generation. It's not going to be. This is not going to be a home run.
Exactly.
Okay. Right, and we know that, and that's great. However, what you are going to do in here is going to be something that you're going to include in your listing presentation, because it's going to create a lot of goodwill. There is no human being on the planet that doesn't appreciate people that work with animals. All right, so the fact that you're going to run an ad in this newsletter, and it's going to be a 100% branded marketing piece. Okay, now here's what you're going to do with the branded marketing piece. You're going to offer some kind of a unique selling proposition clearly associated to Adele. Adele you, not Adele the singer, Adele you. Okay,
Right.
Now the USP is going to focus on two things. It has to incorporate two things. One, it has to incorporate a benefit. For example, selling their home quickly or selling their home for a certain amount of money. All right, that's an outcome that we know the seller would be looking for. And then what it has to include is a consequence if that doesn't happen. Now, this is where the consequence is going to tie in. What it's going to say is this: for every sale, a donation to the whatever the organization is will be made, you know, in the client's amount of $500 or whatever it is. Okay, so all you're doing is instead of saying I'll pay you $500, I'll pay you $1,000 or what have you, what is going to happen is it's going to turn into a donation to the organization, the pet organization.
Okay.
Okay, but it has to be branded to you. All right, so now all I've given you here is a loose framework to work with, but this is the direction that this needs to go in, so that number one,
Sorry
anybody,
about that phone.
yeah, I can really hear that. Anybody that is reading this this newsletter, they're average normal people, and normal average people, sell their home every 4 to 7 years. So it isn't unlikely that somebody reading that is considering making a move. When they see this, it's not only going to offer them a huge advantage to using you because of the guarantee to sell their home for 100% of asking price or sell it in 60 days guaranteed, but it's also going to tie into what clearly is of interest to them, which is this pet organization that you're referring to, because it offers a tie-in with that. Okay, so that's what I need you to think about. Now, when you put this together, I want you to put together a few ideas. You can email them to me and your coach, and let's take a look at them and finalize something that looks really good. Now, when this happens, as I said, this is a supplement. Don't think the phone is going to ring off the hook and this is going to be a home run. But I'll tell you, what we're also going to use this for is in your listing presentation to show some of the marketing that you do. Because anything that you can show in a listing presentation that sets you apart, that's different from what the other realtors do, accomplishes a huge goal. It creates a perception of you. Now, if you're sitting down at a listing presentation and among the marketing that you do, you're also showing them how you're involved in this very special, very worthy organization, and what you do and how you advertise with this organization, it goes a long way in creating that very positive perception. And that's where it's going to be used as well. Does that make sense, Adele?
Yes. Now, there's one other question. When I put this piece together, because it's for animals, rather than my regular picture that I use, I have one with a very close up with an animal. Would that be appropriate then? Because it was with a cat, and it's
I can't see a more appropriate place than that to run that. If you were going to say, I'm thinking about doing a billboard in the middle of town, maybe we'd say the cat makes it a little ridiculous, but in this forum, I can't imagine a more appropriate picture than that.
No. Now, when I talked to the founder of the company, I told her, I would donate. She's like, "Oh, you don't have to put an amount, but you think I should definitely put an amount."
Well, you would in a guarantee, right? I mean, that's the way this works. You would, if you were making a guarantee, you wouldn't say your home's sold in 60 days guaranteed, or I'll give you a little bit of money. I'll give you an undisclosed amount of money. You would be specific. Want to know why? Specific is real. Specific is believable. Specific isn't fluffery. So we always want to be specific. So if your guarantee said, for an example, your home sold in 60 days guaranteed, or I'll donate $500 in your name to the pet fund or whatever it is, that's very, very specific. It's highly believable because you've spelled out everything in the guarantee.
But I'm going to have something like both the guarantee of, let's just say 100% asking price, or I'll pay you the difference, and I will donate $500 to.
Okay, you could do that if you wanted to do that. In other words, you'll donate $500 for every on every home sale, on every transaction, on every home sale or purchase. I'll donate $500 in your name to the pet organization,
as well as the 100% guarantee. I'll pay you the difference. Well,
that's why I want you to consider either. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to offer your generosity. That's up to you. If you want to do it that way, or you want to do it where instead of the savings going to them, instead of the guarantee going to them, it goes to the charity.
Well, that is what I heard you say last time to this girl that was doing it for the church. It's like, I'll donate this money if you use me. And you said, well, you need to say that plus an additional, like, in other words, that wasn't good enough.
Yeah, there's got to be, I don't remember which one it was specifically, but the bottom line is this. Anyone looking to sell their home, regardless of whether they're, reading this pet publication or it's a church parish newspaper or whatever it is, they're motivated by the same thing. They want to get their home sold for the most amount of money, and they want to get it sold in the quickest amount of time. So we have to have a guarantee that addresses those at least one of those two things that are most important and pressing to them. Now, if we can then tie that into the benefit to the church or the benefit to the charity or what have you, then it makes a lot more sense running in that particular medium, running in that forum. So anyway, we better move on, but I hope I've given you some good ideas there, and we can build on that as we go along here. So thanks so much, Adele. And Andrea, who we got next?
Our next question comes from Ellen Levy, and it says, we have a list of 100 homes that have special tax benefits worth up to $124,000 for the prospective homeowner. How do you suggest we advertise and leverage that list? How do we reach that audience?
By offering a free list of properties that a free list of properties that offer tax benefits up to whatever that amount is. So here's what you need to do. You need to figure out how to articulate that better. Who would these properties be best for? An investor? But what you're going to do is you're going to offer a free list of properties, or maybe you run a distress sale ad, and included in your laundry list of distress sale properties would be those properties, right? Remember, if a distress sale is a good deal, would those properties fall into the category of a good deal? Sure they would. So must-sell properties, vacant properties, tax benefit incentive properties, whatever it is, you're grouping that into properties that represent a great deal to a buyer. Now, if you know what buyer typically would be interested in those types of properties, then you should call out to that particular buyer. Next question.
Laura would like your advice on the best classified ad to run.
The best classified ad to run is the distress sale ad, because it offers a free list of great deals on must-sell properties. And every buyer the world over, regardless of price range, regardless of area, they're all looking for the very best deal that they can find. It's universal. So not only can it not be disqualified because you're offering an entire list of properties, but the properties that you're offering represent a great deal, which everybody wants. All right, so the must-sell ad or the distress sale ad are the two very, very best ads. Now, here's what you're going to do. When you run the ad, run it exactly as it appears. Okay? There's no price. There's no disqualifying information at all. As you run it, we can then start to make it more and more specific depending on what happens with the results. Let me give you an example. If you run an ad that says distress sales, bank foreclosures, company-owned properties, great deals, free list with pictures, map, address, www.glenwoodsdistressedproperties.com. And what you find is you generate great response from that. And some of the prospects responding are looking for high end, some are low end, some are middle range. You're generating prospects everywhere in the spectrum. Here's what you do. You hit the repeat button and run the ad forever and ever, over and over again. You don't change anything. You keep running the ad. But what if you ran the ad and what you found was that you were getting a high percentage of prospects that were looking for something that didn't exist? And that happens. It happens a lot. Well, then what we're going to do is we're going to edit the ad so that it includes a minimum price point. For example, it might say, distress sales, bank foreclosures, must-sell homes, free list with pictures, map, addresses, starting from $279.9, www.glenwoodsdistresslist.com. And all we're going to do is we're going to put in a starting price point, right? So the bottom line is when you offer a free list, what it means is the prospect can't disqualify the properties because there is no one particular property. Number two, when we add the element of a good deal, distressed, what it tells the prospect, the perception it gives the prospect is that these are not only the properties that I'm looking for, but they are the special, hard to find great deals where I can, I can satisfy my need to get a great deal. Great question. All right, Andrea.
I'm so sorry. I think I'm having trouble with my microphone today. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Good. I'm sorry about that again. Bertrand typed in, I have a lot of no-shows lately, 40%. I make sure to make the offer very interesting and repeat the benefit before I hang up. As soon as I hang up, I send the appointment by email. She goes on to say, lately I start to send a reminder the day of the appointment.
Lately, you've been, well, here's what I want you to determine. Does lately coincide with 40% not showing up? Because if it does, well, I think you just got your answer. All right, don't do that. Here's what maybe you can test. Test using SlideDial. All right, this is an app you can get on your phone. It's called SlideDial. And what it allows you to do is put a voicemail into their cell phone without them answering the phone. Okay, so they will not pick up the phone. It'll go straight into their voicemail. Okay, it won't ring. Boom, straight in their voicemail. What it's going to give you the opportunity to do is leave a very non-threatening message. Who's this question coming from, Andrea?
This is Bertrand.
Bertrand. Okay, so for example, it might say this. Oh, hi, Bertrand. It's James calling with RE/MAX. Hey, Bertrand, just wanted to give you a quick reminder of our appointment this evening at 7 o'clock. By the way, all I want you to do is consider all of the elements in a home that you're looking for so we can do a good, quick job. Don't bring your wallet or checkbook. There's no cost or obligation to buy anything or anything like that. We'll be as quick as possible. I'll have a free list for you ready to go, and we'll see you at 7 o'clock. I'm at 123 Maple Street. We'll see you then. Thanks, Bertrand. In other words, we're going to use that message to do two things. Number one, to readdress the benefits. And number two, to completely eliminate any threat that the prospect might feel of cost and obligation. Because here's what they're going to be thinking. I must be out of my mind to be meeting with a realtor, tonight at 7. I mean, clearly they're a salesperson, and clearly they're going to charge me money, and they're going to make me sign stuff. So if you leave them a message saying you're not going to pay any money and you're not obligated to do anything, and here's the benefit of the appointment. Okay, the benefit comes first, then you can talk about removing the threat. I think you might find that will work more effectively. And if you're going to send it a reminder email, I would suggest that the reminder email does exactly that, follows that formula. All I want you to prepare for the appointment, there's one thing and one thing only. I want you to consider all of the elements in a home that are important to you so we can do a good, quick job of getting you the right properties and getting you on your way. Don't bring your wallet or checkbook. There's no cost or obligation to buy anything. We'll see you at 7 o'clock, 123 Maple Street later.
Okay, we have a follow-up from Bertrand. It says, I don't have less no-shows since sending the reminder, but at least they tell me they want to cancel via email and they don't waste my time.
Yeah, you're clear. I mean, obviously they're not seeing the benefit of the appointment. Okay, so I mean that's just something that we need to work on initially. When you're making the offer, the prospects are saying yes and they're booking the appointment, but I would hazard to guess that if you were to probe the prospect and say, okay, now what is the appointment that we're having on Thursday evening? What's the purpose of that appointment? If you were to ask that question to the prospect, not that I'm suggesting you do, but if you were, it is my hunch that the prospect wouldn't be able to tell you. They wouldn't be able to tell you the reason for the appointment. They don't know. And and this is common, this is not unique to you, this is common. What it means is if the prospect really doesn't understand the benefit and they've made an appointment, they may be sort of 40-50% there, but as they get off the phone with you and get back on in their regular day-to-day life, that 50% goes down to 20% to 10%. By the time it's ready for the appointment, they have no motivation whatsoever. They're not compelled in any way because they really don't understand why. And it all hinges from that initial conversation on the phone. Here's something else you might want to consider. You don't want to make the offer to everybody. You want to make the offer to those that are shopping for property. If somebody's actively looking, then we make them the offer. But the purpose of the universal script isn't to book an appointment. It's to determine the timing and motivation of the prospect and to make an appointment with those that clearly are motivated to look for property. But what a lot of us will do when we first start is anybody that we're talking to on the phone that represents a prospective buyer will make the buyer offer to. Even though they have no motivation right now to look for properties, let alone to purchase a property, we're making them the offer. So we make a really great offer, really beneficial offer, but it's beneficial to somebody actively looking for a property to purchase. Making that offer to somebody that isn't actively motivated to purchase a property isn't as good. It's not going to be as compelling to them. So then we scratch our heads and wonder, well, gee, why aren't they showing up? Why don't they care as much as I do? So all of these things are at play here. And what we've got to pinpoint is, okay, so what exactly is happening here? We start with the universal script and we do some role playing and determine how good is your offer. Does the prospect really understand the benefit of this appointment? Okay. Number two, are you booking the appointments as close to now as possible? The appointment is more likely to happen the closer to now it is set. We've talked about that a million times. You get that. And then number three, if you're going to send a reminder, make sure the reminder, more than anything, focuses on the benefit of the appointment and the removal of risk. It is the risk that stops the prospect from coming. Like if you were to say, may I ask why, you want to cancel the appointment? Yeah, I'm just not ready for that right now. Just out of curiosity, what was the purpose of the appointment? Do you remember? No, I haven't a clue. Whose fault is that? It's not their fault. I haven't a clue. That means they don't know the purpose of the appointment. Well, I wouldn't show up either. So we've got all of these things at play. What we got to do is we got to figure out, okay, which one of these is having the biggest impact on this, and then we sort of section it off and focus on those individual parts of the process. Good question, and I know this can be fixed. I'll tell you what, your biggest opportunity is going from 40% to 90%. You will double your business if you meet with double the number of prospects. It's simple as that. I mean, think about that for a second. Your opportunity to double your business is not in generating more leads. It's not in signing more contracts. It's in getting double the number of appointments to actually show up. That's it. If you did that, you'd have double the number of appointments. And double the number of appointments would absolutely mean you double your business. So there's tremendous upside in figuring this out and being able to determine where in this process we need to focus. Glad you asked that.
Okay. Daniel Pilson asks, how do I look up a phone number? Is there a good website to go to?
Yeah, whitepages.com. You can do a Google search. There's one that Lester talks about a lot called Being Verified. And it's B-E-E-N verified, Being Verified. And now they charge a yearly fee, a small yearly fee or monthly fee. It's not expensive by any means. But it's very thorough, and it allows you to find anybody and get any contact information attached to that person. So that's another one that you want to look at. You know what? You'd be blown away if you just enter an address into the Google search box. Very often, it'll give you all kinds of information about that. If there's a phone number, put a name in there as well. But yeah, I mean, you're not going to get everybody, but you'll get more than a majority.
Okay. Brenda Campos is asking, where can I obtain the VIP buyer presentation and seller presentations in Spanish?
Where can you obtain that? Well, as you know, we do have many Spanish-speaking members of the system, some who have excelled into the platinum level and beyond that. So although we do not, nor are we an authority on translation, we do have members who have done it. So what we will do is we will get you in touch with a member who has made that translation, and then you can speak to them about it. But it's really not up to us to offer what someone else has done. You can ask them, and I assure you that they will be very generous in sharing what they have with you. That's what we've always found. But it's not something we have. Now, what we have done is, for example, the website. The website's been translated. If you go to Success website, they have translated all the pages of the website into Spanish, so that's easy to do. But as far as the buyer and listing presentation, what you want to do is contact the office, and we'll get you in touch with some of our Spanish-speaking members in, places like, South Florida and places of California and Arizona. We've got some members where they focus on a large Spanish-speaking segment of their marketplace, and have done exactly what you're looking for. We'll get you in touch with them, and you can talk to them about it and see what they'll share with you.
Our next question, where do we find things to do and not to do when selling and get the highest possible price?
Okay, well, things to do and not do are what you do anyway. I don't know, have you ever suggested to a seller that they unclutter? Or if they're working on this huge project that isn't going to affect the sales value of the property, or if there's unfinished work, that would make the home show so much better by finishing something, that's incomplete. All we're saying is this: there are things that you do anyway. You might want to get rid of the 14 cats that you live with. I don't know, but we're not suggesting that these are anything that you don't do anyway. What we're suggesting is that you articulate what you do, the benefit of the appointment. So when we say we're going to share with you tips on what to do and what not to do, you do this anyway. When you look at a seller's home, you make suggestions of things that they should do that will make their home more appealing to more people, and things that they don't need to do that might cost them a lot of money or cause them a lot of work that won't impact the sales price or the showability of the property, right? So, if someone says, well, I'm thinking of, replacing all of the hardware in the bathrooms. Well, you know what? That's probably not going to have that big of an impact. Whereas other projects have a massive impact, like a kitchen. So we're not suggesting that there's a pamphlet. What we're suggesting is you're simply articulating what you do anyway when you walk into a seller's home. But because the other agents don't say it, and we do, it almost seems like it's a unique offer to us. Well, to the seller, perhaps it is unique to us. Every agent does it. We're the only ones that say we do. And obviously, the whole idea is the reason that you're sharing with the seller what to do and what not to do is because the more appealing their property is to a wider audience, the more people would be interested in purchasing their property. And the more people that are interested in purchasing their property, the more demand on their property goes up. And the more demand goes up on one single property, the more the price goes up. Because the supply is one. There's one property like yours. But if we can make the property appealing to a lot of people, that means we've got demand, but we've only got one supply, your property. The more demand on a single supply, the price goes up. It's common economics. When you explain it to the seller that way, they understand it just as well as we do. So the reason that you want to share with them what to do and what not to do is because by sharing this information, it makes their home more appealing to more people. That's the objective. Great question. Who's next?
And just to add to that, a really great webinar you and Craig did, Getting the Right Price, discusses a lot of this in detail. There's even some resources you can use for the presentations, and I thought I would mention that. This member might want to review the session, Getting the Right Price.
Here's another example. We say we can also go over a net sheet, so you'll know exactly what you'll have left in your pocket once all the various closing costs are incurred. Whoa, can somebody send me this net sheet? Yeah, it's called a piece of paper and a pen. You do it anyway, right? It's nothing fancy. You're going to sit down with them, and you're using ballpark figures, but you're giving them an idea of what they're going to have left in their pocket. Estimated value of their property, what they owe. You do it anyway. The reason that we're offering this information over the phone is because to the seller, they want this information. It's very, very, very appealing to somebody considering selling their home. And since you do it anyway, Well, it makes logical sense that you would tell them about it. Next question.
Okay. Murray types in, my real estate board produces a real estate weekly, which highlights properties on the MLS for the local area. The property ads are paid for by agents for advertising. Murray's considering running a classified style USP ad in this publication and is looking for your thoughts on if you think this would be an effective medium for classified USP.
Who does it go out to? Does this go to the agents or does it go out to the community? That's the difference. Right? Is this an MLS publication or real estate board publication? Who sees it? Who reads it? And if your answer is, well, consumers in the marketplace read it, then most definitely offering a property for sale eliminates the overwhelming majority of the buyers that are looking at the property. If you run an ad that offers a free list of the best deals in your price range, you can't eliminate that. I don't care what you're looking for. You cannot eliminate an ad that says free list of great deals in your price range. Must sell, distressed, foreclosures, and more. Free list with pictures, area mustsellhomes.com. You can't eliminate that. Anyone looking for a property in your marketplace cannot say, well, that's not what I want. It's exactly what they want. Whereas the other realtors are running ads promoting an individual property listing. Here's the problem. The overwhelming majority, if not every one of the buyers that see that property ad don't want to buy that property. They don't want to buy it because it's too big or it's too small or it's in the wrong area or it's the wrong price or it's the wrong number of bedrooms or bathrooms or features. But something is not right with the property, so they eliminate it. They do want to buy something, but they don't want to buy that. So they don't call. They don't respond. Whereas they get to your ad and they can't eliminate it. Impossible. It offers all the properties in your price range that represent a great deal. Can't eliminate it. Therefore, the prospect is far more compelled to respond. And they respond not by calling a salesperson, but they respond by going to your website or to your hotline and requesting the information in a non-threatening environment. And by doing it that way, you generate 10 times, 20 times, 50 times the number of leads. Sounds good.
Okay. Mike has a question. When attempting to arrange the first meeting with a buyer during the initial phone conversation and the buyer is resistant to meeting, how does one handle the initial resistance, and at what point does one stop pushing for the appointment and simply communicate the desired information to the buyer?
Yeah, here's what I would do. So I would reiterate the offer one more time. All right, and the words that you want to use is, are you certain you wouldn't reconsider a brief free appointment at your convenience, Mrs. Smith? Okay, I mean, that's the simple wording. So you're going to reiterate the benefit, and then you're going to say, are you certain that you wouldn't, for example, I might say this, well, Mrs. Smith, honestly, this is designed for busy people like you. If we can spend 15 minutes together pinpointing exactly what you're looking for, it'll save you hours of time throughout the process so that you're not driving around or aimlessly trying to find what you're looking for. I'm going to email it to you automatically. And the best part, it's absolutely free. I will not charge you a nickel. You're never obligated to buy anything, Mrs. Smith. Are you certain you wouldn't reconsider a brief 15-minute appointment at your convenience? Now, Mrs. Smith says, no, not at this time. I say, okay, well, why don't we do this? First of all, the list of properties that you initially requested is on its way. It should be in your email inbox. But I also put together a free monthly newsletter that's full of great market information that you will definitely find helpful over the upcoming weeks and months while you're considering what you're going to do. Would you like to receive that? It's absolutely free. There's no obligation, and I can send that out to you every month. Would you like that, Mrs. Smith? Mrs. Smith says, sure, that'd be great. Then I say, and Mrs. Smith, would it be okay if I followed up with you, but at a time when you're closer to maybe making a move or considering making a move? Would it be okay if I followed up with you at that time down the road? Now, Mrs. Smith says, yeah, sure, that would be fine. I say, when would be a good time for me to do that? And I take whatever she says and I cut it in half. Very simple. That's the process. And think of how nice and comfortable that is. Now, Mrs. Smith is a high CS type personality. So she says, well, I don't know, give me a month. So I wait 2 or 3 weeks and I give Mrs. Smith a call back. And we go through the same process again. But we keep it very, very non-threatening. And what we're doing by the more information that we're offering, if this is a CS type personality, they like information. So we've sent them some properties. You've sent them one of your newsletters, whether it's online or a print newsletter. You're sending them information. You're establishing yourself as the provider of information. So the next time you talk to them, you're not speaking to them for the very first time cold. You've already made several touches with that prospect, not only by talking to them, but by sending them very useful and helpful information from you.
Okay, our next question from Stephen. On the Facebook free home evaluation ad, do I send the 4 to 6 houses to the prospect even if I didn't reach him by phone yet?
Yes, you always send the information that's been requested. In other words, nowhere in the ad does it say, I will only send this information if I talk to you. So there is no condition of speaking to the prospect to send the information. We must feel we are obligated to send what the prospect requested because we offered it. So yes, we always want to send the information. And remember, it's irrelevant whether the prospect received the information or not, because what you're proposing is far better than whatever you sent. So if the prospect were to get the information and say, well, this wasn't very good, you know what? I'd love that. Yeah, you know what, Mr. Smith? What I've sent you are properties that are already on the market right now, but have been overlooked by the buyers in the marketplace. Would you like me to email you the properties as they come on the market so you can beat out other buyers to the best deals that match what you're looking for? It's absolutely free. There's no obligation. It would include all the properties from all the different companies, but most especially the hard-to-find deals that you might not see elsewhere. It's free and there's no obligation, and I can set you up to get those emails every day. Would that be of interest to you, Mr. Smith? Right? There is no scenario where whether they receive the information or not, it matters. We are always going to determine the timing and motivation, and we're going to make a better offer to the prospect regardless. Good question.
Okay, our next question. In my area of low inventory homes, they tend to sell within $10,000 of list price. Does it make sense to offer a USP guaranteeing that I save you $50,000 on your next home purchase, or I will pay you $5,000?
No. The reason being is it doesn't sound believable. If you run an ad that says I'll save you $50,000 on your home purchase, it sounds like a gimmick to me because it sounds like way too much. Is that what you read, Andrea?
Yes, and I was wondering if you were going to need me to read it again. Homes normally sell within $10,000 of the list price. So what her guarantee would be is I will save you $50,000 on your next home purchase, or I will pay you $5,000.
I would only imagine that this marketplace must be it must be multi-million-dollar properties. I would have to assume, because that's a pretty bold USP. And if you said they're selling within 10,000, then why would you offer 50,000? That's too much. You'd rather offer a $5,000 savings or a $10,000 savings on their home purchase than 50,000, because you'd constantly be giving away $5,000 of your commission. If I'm hearing what you're saying correctly, what you're saying is homes sell within 10,000, but I'm going to offer 50,000, and if I don't save them 50,000, I'll pay them 5,000. That means you're constantly and always going to be dropping $5,000 off your commission. So in other words, if you saved somebody $48,000 off the asking price, you'd be penalized by paying $5,000 from your commission. I just find that unnecessary. But here's what's more important, is that we have to make sure that whatever the USP is, it has to be believable. And even if it is true, it doesn't matter. It has to sound believable. So when we say, $50,000 savings, it sounds like it shouldn't be believed, because it's just way too much money. And the truth is, if the average is selling within 10,000, then it isn't true. Homes, you aren't saving $50,000. So all I'm asking you to do is I want you to reconsider those numbers. And if you want to say, I'll save you $5,000 on your home purchase guaranteed, or I'll pay you $5,000, well, that would be one thing. That would be better, because now at least it's reasonable. But at $50,000, I think that you've misjudged the market and the purpose of the guarantee. All right, next question, Andrea.
Our next question, do you have any thoughts on video emails like BombBomb? Do you think it would be a great tool campaigning to database and leads alike?
Well, I'm not familiar with that one, although it does sound fun to say. The point is, you know, Craig sold 500 homes a year for 15 years straight without doing that. So do you need to do it? No. Could you test using these kinds of things? Absolutely. You know what it reminds me of? Like voice broadcasting. You know, you create a message and it goes out to everybody in your database. You know, it's Christmas time, it's holiday time, so sending out, whether it would be a voice blast to your database or something like you're referring to here, absolutely would be perfectly appropriate to do something like that and utilize the most up-to-date technology to get your message out there as personalized as it could possibly be to your database, to your sphere, to past clients, etc. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Dave is asking, he can't attend the event in Toronto in January. Can a team member attend in his absence?
I'm sure they can. Yes, I'm certain they can. Now, we have to make sure that it is the right event, though, for a team member. And I just want to look here at the event in Toronto in January, the Platinum event. Do you know, Andrea? Let me just look here real fast because I've got that in front of me here. That's a boot camp. Yeah, so I'm not sure. It's not an OSA workshop. Okay, so here's what you got to remember. It depends on who you're sending. If you were sending one of your outside sales agents, I'd say no. No. I mean, you could, but no. That's not who this is for. They want to go to the February 1st meeting in Atlanta for OSAs, outside sales agents. Okay, so it's not a matter of would you be allowed to send somebody. You certainly would. You've invested a lot in it. It's whether it would be a smart idea for you to do that. And I would prefer you call Dana at Todd's office, and we determine who is the person that you're considering sending to make sure that they would benefit, or you would benefit by their attending. That makes sense.
Okay, our next question. What do you include in the email when you send the property information?
You mean when you send a list of properties? Is that, let's assume that's what we're referring to here. Okay, so in addition to sending the properties, it's branded. It comes from you. The second the prospect requests the information, everything is branded to that point. So the email that they receive comes from you. Please find attached the properties that you're looking for. It comes from you. Everything comes from you. Your contact information. Okay, now, but knowing that even though this is branded to us, even though our contact information is there, even though they could reply to the email if they wanted to, they won't. We know this. Sending them the information, all it does is fulfills their request. We are only going to convert the prospect by picking up the phone and reaching the prospect. That's it. So yes, it's going to be branded, and the reason we want to brand it is because when we call the prospect back, we want them to know that we're the ones that provided them the information that they requested from us, right? And that's what it's going to say in the email. So if they receive the information by email, it would say, please find enclosed or please find attached the properties that you requested on my website regarding waterfront properties between 250 and or whatever and whatever, okay? But then we're going to follow up with them, and we have to call them back, because if we're relying on the prospect responding to our email, ain't going to happen. All right, let's take one more for today, Andrea.
Okay. Mark needs some clarification on what the difference is between an inside and outside sale.
All right, so an inside salesperson uses the universal callback script inside the office to follow up with the leads and book appointments. The outside sales agent is outside of the office and goes on the appointments and works with the buyers and sellers. Inside books the appointments, outside does the appointments. That's the difference between the two. And you know, what's interesting is that the inside sales position, if effective, is a far more skilled position than the outside sales position. The benefit of the inside sales position is that the hours are more regulated and more regular. The outside sales agents, on the other hand, you know, obviously they're in a position where they can work with a lot of people and as much as they can handle and work more traditional realtor hours. That would be the downside of that, but they can also make a whole lot of money. And it is not uncommon in our Platinum program that we have team leaders who have outside sales agents that make well into the six figures. So the income of the outside sales agent is well into the $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 range, with no expenses on their behalf, because everything is being provided by the team, including the appointments. So it's the way of the future. That is a great question. Okay, now I can see that we're starting to fizzle off here on our webinar. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday. I know a lot of you are winding down this week, and that's great. We're really looking forward to starting off 2016 with a bang, and we'll be speaking with all of you in the new year. Andrea, thanks so much for your help as usual. I'm sure I'll be talking to you before the new year, but yeah, just wanted to wish everybody a really wonderful, safe, happy holiday, and make sure that you know that we're here to answer all of your questions. So even though we may not have another webinar, plenty of opportunity to get your questions answered.
Well,
send us an email and let us know. Sorry, Andrea, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to, before we dropped more, to avoid some confusion, we do have a couple more coaching webinars this week.
Right.
So some of you may have something to come on with us, so I may talk to you. You're going to get invited to those webinars today. So if you don't get an invitation, that means it's not for your group, and you can enjoy the Christmas week. But if you do, please join us either Tuesday or Wednesday of this week.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrea, and thank you, everybody, for joining. Adele, I'm sorry for singing hello. That was really bad.
It was really awesome,
you know,
actually. It was my Christmas present. Thank you.
This is going to bring the house down. This was going to be good.
And it is
But
recorded,
alas,
so it's my new ringtone.
Alas, I was wrong. Okay, thanks so much, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Bye now.
Thank you all for joining. Have a wonderful afternoon.